So joining us to dig a little deeper into the RCEP is Sourabh Gupta. He's Senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist with the Institute for China-America Studies. Good to see you as always, Sourabh.
Hey Gerald, good to see you.
Hi there. So Malaysia is now the 12th nation to implement the RCEP agreement. Very briefly, how important is this for the Malaysian economy and the region as a whole?
Oh, huge. It's huge. China's economy is 17 trillion US dollars. What was it? In 15 years, 20 years back, it was 1 trillion. Imagine how large it's going to be in 10 years, 15 years. And if Malaysian exporters can export to Chinese consumers, can you imagine how much prosperity can be created at home for Malaysians? I think it's a great opportunity for Malaysia and for Southeast Asia.
Right. And so, of course, we keep saying this. RCEP is the largest free trade agreement around. It connects nearly a third of the global population and economic output. We keep talking about why nations would want to sign up. But what factors would make a country not want to be a part of this?
The countries which do not want to be a part of this, and let me kind of the two bookends out here. One is India and the other is the United States. The United States does not want to be part and parcel because it did not spearhead, it did not champion the negotiations, and it thereafter feels that the negotiations are not gold quality standard agreement. May not be gold quality standard, but it will create more prosperity than the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement would have, and the CPTPP will. At the other end, India. India is actually going around and trying to sign free trade agreements with all non-Asian countries, because whoever it signs agreements with Asia with, it sees that it is at a competitive disadvantage because the trade deficit gets larger, and it gets larger because most Asian countries are far more superior in their manufacturing sector prowess than India. And so India doesn't want to be in because its trade deficit will become bigger, even though it will enhance the competitiveness. I think the Indians have made a wrong decision out here. But anyway, those are the reasons why countries have not joined in, even though it's such a huge and beneficial agreement.
So if they do not join, then does that eventually mean that trade with this bloc just over time lessens?
No, it doesn't. It won't lessen because both India is going to grow autonomously of its own, and the RCEP countries are, of course, going to become a much, much huger bloc. And just that size itself will attract greater investment and greater trade flows. But what will happen, and this is where India will suffer, India has created protectionist walls, and behind these protectionist walls, they're trying to ramp up employment in the manufacturing sector, which they will succeed in. But what they will see is that they're even further away in terms of manufacturing competitiveness in catch-up. And I think that'll have immense ramifications down the line in terms of competitiveness, in terms of productivity, in terms of someday trying to slot themselves into Asia-wide regional value chains, which they will not be able to. And they will see over time that manufacturing actually continues to get hollowed out in India while it booms in the rest of Southeast Asia and Asia and the RCEP countries, frankly.
Right. And of course, Sourabh, China is part of RCEP, as we know. It's also now applied for membership to the other trading bloc that you brought up, the Trans-Pacific CPTPP, which of course has many RCEP signatories. Do these overlaps get confusing for the countries that are all part of them? Because the goal seems to be free trade, but there are always different caveats and different terms for all these different blocs.
Yes, they do in fact overlap, and as I had mentioned, it's a higher standards agreement. The thresholds are a little higher. It's more difficult to get into that in terms of commitments that one has to swallow. And fair enough. I mean, the CPTPP wanted to draw it up on those lines, and it's understandable. They want to be kind of a leader, a sort of setting the tone in terms of trade liberalization and trade standards. But that does not necessarily mean that these two trading blocs are competitive vis-a-vis each other. In fact, there's huge opportunity for RCEP, more RCEP countries, as they kind of sharpen their trade prowess and enhance their tariff and non-tariff related standards and barriers, lower those barriers, that they can aspire to be in CPTPP. And I think the ultimate goal should be, and this is a goal that China has championed previously and will continue to champion, is to merge these two into a free trade agreement of the Asia Pacific. That was the hope. But I mean, with the Americans dropping out, it took away some of the wind from that, but I hope China will now be the champion and the underwriter of an arrangement in the future for this.
Sourabh Gupta, always good to speak with you. Thank you.
You're most welcome.